Yes, y'all. Welcome again to another episode of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. So, special guest, dear friend of mine, that's going to be on today's podcast. As you can see, I got my Wu Tang shirt. It is a Wednesday, so Wu Wednesday is definitely in the house. Dudley Thomas Jr. What's good, my friend Dudley?
Good day, sir. Mr. Mack in the building. I'm good. Blessed day. Beautiful weather here in Texas. Everything is good. Everything is good. How you doing?
Good. So we're gonna. I know you've done a little traveling for work, and it's taking you multiple different places. So we're gonna have to definitely talk about this Texas thing. Now that you're down in Texas, we know you're a Cowboys fan. Good Lord, help me. But we'll have to get you because all my fans know that definitely I'm a Washington fan. So you are an arch rival and nemesis. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So for those that don't know Dudley or don't follow him on social, yes, he is a Cowboys fan, but part of the reason he's on this podcast today, he is a big sneakerhead. So, Dudley, maybe you can share with us, what got you into sneakers. Talk us a little about your style, and go ahead, do your thing.
So for me, I've always liked sneakers. I've always liked them. For me, I think what the hardest thing was that, growing up, my mom, my dad weren't going to buy me sneakers. And, you know, I had a paper route. I worked at McDonald's and stuff like that. But, sneakers, runners have always been like second to me. I would rather go and get like a hard dress shoe. And, that was me. So,
Hmm.
Growing up, I had sneakers, but I preferred to get a nice boot or a nice shoe and stuff like that. Um, and I spent my money on basketball shoes. So I wanted, the good basketball shoes to play ball in. And then off the court, I was kind of dressed up and whatever. But really what really got me into sneakers is when I moved to Chicago.
Okay.
That was about 6 years ago. And I would walk home from work, and I worked downtown Chicago, and I'd walk past the Jordan store, and I walked past Foot Locker and Foot Action and Champs, and I would go in. And growing up in Canada, one of the things that shoes are expensive. That straight up, shoes are expensive.
No two ways about it.
And so when I went in the store and I saw these, I can't remember the name of them, but I saw a pair of shoes. I'm like, oh, I have to get these. And they were only like $49. And I'm like, am I getting a pair of Nikes for $49? Because normally what we did is, in Canada, you would go to the outlets. You would go to Buffalo, you go to Pennsylvania, and you would go in and you pick up shoes. So I was in the store and I saw these shoes. They had the Velcro straps, the two Velcro straps. They kind of looked like Yeezys before Yeezys came out. And so I picked up the shoe. I'm like, oh, I have to get these. And I bought them, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And so, my walk home from work, I would, go back into the stores and everything like that. And then one day my wife says, we were walking together, and I showed her the shoe, and she goes, why don't you buy it? I said, buy what? The shoe's $200. Are you crazy? Like, I'm not buying no shoe for $200. Like, I'd rather buy, some nice Chelsea boots and stuff like that. And she goes, you work hard enough, and you should reward yourself. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I picked up these black and gold Air Jordan 4s. And
Royalty, I remember.
yeah, I picked those up. And so I get to the cash register, and I'm still in awe that these shoes are $200. And so I do this thing to rationalize it in my head, where I put half on my debit card and half on my credit card, so that it was like $100, each. And so I didn't feel too bad. And really, that was the start of it. Um, I got the shoe. I fell in, like I looked at it, like, I never did the Jordan thing where you take the shoe and you smell it, right? Like I
Oh, dog, you
smelled
don't
it.
know.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for 20 plus years now.
Yeah, so I never did that. And so when I got that, and it was like, my God, like this smells like a brand new baby. Like it was just unbelievable, like, And so I got the shoe, and then, I started talking to people in the area and stuff like that. And there's like, oh, these shoes are coming out. And they're like, okay, you got to line up. I'm like, line up for shoes? And they're like, yeah. And so again, like I'm 10, 15 minutes away. So next shoe comes out. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to remember. It was Air Jordan 1, the Air Jordan 1 Red Toe. And it says it's coming out. And I'm like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah. And so that to me was like the iconic shoe that I can, like, it was the grail that I could never get because, I couldn't afford it. And so the store opens, the Jordan store opens at 9. And they said, you got to be here at 7. And I'm like, are you serious? And they're
No,
like,
it's a
yeah,
culture shock. 2 hours
yeah,
in advance. This is
yeah,
not a movie. This is to buy some sneakers, right?
yeah, yep. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I get here, I get to the line, and I'm new to Chicago. It's not like Toronto where I know and I could see things, going on. And I know people. So it's a little bit different. Chicago, I don't know anybody. And so the lineup's there. And this is where the first time I experienced that people actually pay homeless people to stand in line. And so that came as a shock to me because I'm like, I've heard that before for tickets, for concerts, and for different things, but never for sneakers. So I saw that. And what I noticed is the people who are in the line who want the shoe are wearing the latest Jordans.
And
Doesn't
they
matter
got
where.
bangers on, no doubt.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay. And so I start in the line and I'm looking and I get there and I get in and stuff like that. And as soon as I come out of the store, somebody's like, hey, you wanna sell those shoes? I'm like, no, I just bought them. And that was the whole thing that got me into, what's really going on in the sneaker culture world. And especially being in Chicago, because in Chicago, as you know, it um, you know, anytime there's a release, and especially like a sneaker release, Chicago is a city that always gets the shoe.
Yep.
And so, you know, it started there and it started with, getting those royalties and getting those bread toes. And it was like, okay, shoe here, shoe there, shoe here, shoe there. And I started collecting and I started collecting and I went on this rampage. And
Oh,
I
I
remember,
remember. I remember
I
the chat group
remember
and the
our,
whole 9 yards. It's like,
yeah,
hey, can you stay to 2 shoes a month? Nah, fam.
yep,
Nah.
yeah, yeah. And I remember having our conversation and then, you asked me, have you always been a sneakerhead? And I said, no, I just got into it. I really just got into it about 5, 6 years ago. And then getting into it, it became it became an obsession to get the shoes. It became an obsession to stand in line and to get that rush, of getting a brand new shoe that just came out. Nobody has these shoes, and here you are rocking, you know, the latest and greatest Jordans. And from the standing in line went to getting the sneaker app, getting the Foot Locker app, getting the Foot Action app, getting the Champs app, and putting all my information in. And that just started a whole tumbleweed of everything.
Yes,
Because
sir.
once I no longer had to go in the store, I no longer had to deal with the uncertainty of standing in line, watching people, not getting jack or anything like that, but you know, there were some unsavory people out there, and it was kind of, eye-opening, right? And so once I got into the sneaker app and to the app, the foot apps, that was it for me. I got 2 devices, 3 devices. I got 3 different accounts. The hell. Um, Sorry, the lights went off. But once I got into those things, it was unbelievable. It was going down the rabbit hole straight out.
Mhm.
And so, getting the sneaker app and, you know, getting 2 pairs of shoes of the same shoe. And, you know, the collections just started growing. And, we talked about that. I said, I got to chill. I was going, 4 shoes a month, right? And I got to take it down. But it was just, I was hitting like I was on, it was almost like I was gambling and I was just hitting number 711, 711. I just kept hitting,
on the craps table.
and so, I went from, you know, getting the bread toe. And then when I got my favorite shoe of all time, the Jordan 3 Black Cement,
Mm.
I never had those. I never had them. I saw everybody else get them and I never had them. And when I got those, it was just, it was raised up to the heaven and
No doubt.
everything. And it was just, and I think once I got the cement threes, it was just, man, this is everything. Like, I don't I can do this for the rest of my life. Like, I'm so happy that I got these shoes. And, I started pampering my shoes and started, getting the piles together and everything like that. And then bit by bit, I started this collection, which is now over 100 and 115 shoes.
Yeah, that was one of my next questions: is how big is the collection got if you only started 5.5 years ago? So that's start doing the math on it. And I know, yeah, it can escalate quickly. So we call we'll call Michelle from now on Dr. Frankenstein because she
Oh,
created the monster. So
oh yeah, yeah. And it got to a point where my closet was full. I couldn't put any more shoes. And I ended up renting a storage locker in my building, and it was just full of shoes.
mhm.
And it was like a 4 by 8, so 4 feet wide, 8 inch, 8, 10 inches tall, all full of shoes. And um, I got into the sneaker culture, and I started looking at Instagrams and different things. And someone says, "Oh, you should get the sneaker boxes." Sneaker boxes. What are sneaker boxes? And that was the thing that blew me away, because then it's like I bought all these sneaker boxes, and then I started throwing away the original boxes. I kept some of the, like the Travis Scotts and, the
The
boxes that
special
came in,
ones.
the special ones. But the other ones, I was spending money at the Container Store getting these boxes, and it came in black and it came in white. So I started off with black, and then they came with the red and blue. I'm like, I have to get the red and blue because I got to put my Jordan 4s, fire red, in the red container. I had to get the Royals, the Jordan 1, the Royal. Um, I had to get those Hyper Royals. I had to get those and put them in a blue container and stuff like that. And you know, I don't like the clear containers because they don't really do anything for me. But we're here in Texas. We moved. We bought a house, and we're having a house built and everything like that. And when I went to the closet, I can see how I'm going to put
Yeah.
my shoes everywhere, and I'm really looking forward to doing the display and stuff like that. And so shoes has become more, it was for a while became part of my life. It was very, it was the exception. I was waking up at 8:45 because I knew at 9 o'clock exactly that's when the sneaker app was going to release shoes. And I had my 2 phones, I had my iPad, I had my computer.
Wow.
I took my phones off my Wi-Fi. I did all the things that they said to do. During the week before the release, I was watching all the videos. I was liking these and doing that. I was tagging my shoes with the special tag so that it would get recognized by the algorithm and everything like that. And so I was doing everything leading up to the release so that when at 9 o'clock, I was ready to hit go and get the shoes. And one of my best scores ever was the Travis Scott ones, high tops. I hit on both of them. I hit on a Foot Locker and I hit on a sneaker app. And I couldn't believe that I got two of these most wanted shoes at the time when they came out.
Yeah. So
And
it's interesting that you said that you've used multiple devices and you've got multiple things. So just like, what would you say is the percentage of how many times you hit on the app versus how many times you enter?
So I'll say this: before COVID, I was hitting, I would say 85 to 90% of the time.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, I was hitting. I was hitting on my way to work. I was hitting, if they did a release on a Wednesday, I was hitting before I went into work. Or if I got into work before, I was hitting. I was banging it out, dude. And I had, I was getting 2 pairs. I was buying 2 pairs just because, I wanted to make sure that I got the shoe.
Yeah.
And so I would hit on 2 pairs, and depending, if it was really, something, I would keep both pairs, or, I would, buy one and return the other. And, for a while, that's how it was going. I was getting one shoe delivered at home and the other shoe getting delivered at the office, because, it got to a point where she goes, "You bought another pair of shoes." And so I was, as I was buying shoes, I was, going crazy. And again, before COVID, I was, there wasn't a shoe that I didn't miss. Like, if the shoe came out, I got it, right?
Wow.
You know, my collection is mostly of Jordan 1s, 3s, 5s, couple of 6s, couple of 7s, 11s. I bought Jordan, I think it was the 33s. I don't really go after 11.
Right.
Maybe I have a couple of 12s, a couple of 13s, but after that, I don't really. A lot
of people cut off at that point. Like I'm a fan of 14, 17, and 17 hasn't come back on the market a while. They retroed 18 several years ago. Do like that. But yeah, most people don't mess with anything beyond 13. Like there are some significant 12 and 13 lovers. Like they love that better than 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. Like
Yeah.
there's definitely a different trend or a different group of people that love those shoes, but a lot of times, people quote unquote mess around with the championship shoes. Like that's kind of their flex, and that's what they work with. But yeah, I totally get you on, the ones that you're interested in. So you mentioned the Jordan 3 Black Cement. That was one of your sought after shoes. You also mentioned the Travis Scott. What would you say is, one of those shoes that, you think back from your childhood that you never got outside this Jordan 3 that you never got, but you recently have acquired or you're still looking to get? Like what's kind of those ones that really stick out to you?
And so I do have the shoe that I really wanted, and it was the Jordan 185s.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, that was a tough one to get. Crazy.
Yeah.
Tough.
So it was, I think it was 200 and something odd, 200,000 pairs, and I got pair 22,567.
Yeah.
And so it's All-Star Weekend in Chicago, and it's coming up on a sneaker app, and I'm like, I can't, I'm doing everything. So I got my phones, I got my iPad, I got my computer. I'm all in to get these shoes, and I score these shoes, and I get the shoe, and it's in the regular Jordan 1 box. It's mostly red and black, and I open up the box, and it has a tag on the shoe sleeve of what shoe it is compared for the rest. And I'm like, I can't believe I got these shoes.
Yeah.
And I am in shock. And everybody's, oh, you should sell them on StockX, because I could have made, a couple of $1,000s on them.
Easy with that
and
shoe.
I said, you know what? No, I'm keeping this shoe. This is the tongue in the air. This is the red and black. This is everything. Because I used to be a huge basketball. I loved basketball. And I'll say this: my first daughter, her mom says, the only thing that you're ever committed to is basketball, because that's how much I played basketball.
Yeah.
I was playing basketball Sunday to Sunday and everywhere in the city. And back then in Toronto, you could go to Scarborough, you can go to Regent Park, you can go to Jungle and Fleming and Neptune and all these different places and play basketball. And so I was a huge basketball fan, and I loved it. I loved, Toronto didn't have a team, and it wasn't that I picked Chicago as my team. I picked the players. Jordan was always my favorite player. It's the guy I grew up watching. And so, when I got those, it just took me right back to that era of basketball where, to me, was the best era of basketball, right? Because I grew up and I watched it, and I was so, Jordan was everything, and I'm a man, I'm almost 50 this year, and I still go out and I buy Jordan jerseys if they re-release them, because I just have that connection with it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things. If it's your favorite, it's your favorite. Like, doesn't matter how old you are. You don't need to change what you love or what you're inspired by or what you're passionate about. She was talking to someone about Melo today, and I'm a big Carmelo fan, and
yep.
We started start talking about, she was a coworker asking me about, the Raptors are going to play again, and you could go to home games. Like, Lionel, do you think you'll go to a game? It's like the only games I'd consider is the Knicks. But I think when I really think about this season, like, I get like almost to the point I get almost choked up and teary-eyed to a certain extent. Like, I get a little bit emotional when I started talking about it today. It's just like, because the last game I saw was Carmelo making the game-winning shot over Anunoby right before the pandemic, 2 months before, in 2020. And this is after he couldn't get on a team. He was only on the Blazers for only a month. Like, I thought that was the last time I'm going to see him. Now he's signed to the Lakers, and I says, like, he's in year 18 like LeBron is.
Yeah.
This could be the last time I see him, period. And hopefully this is a year that they potentially win a championship to kind of cement his career. But it's just like, and I says, like, I go back, like, Nikki, I watched him play before he was even in the league.
Yep.
And so, like, I totally get, like, if that's what you love, that's it. Yeah. Like, you talk about, the Air Jordan, the tongue out and all of those things that we saw, in his first season. The reason, like, my favorite Jordan's the Jordan 4, because I resonate so much, was when he made that jumper over Craig Elo to win that round. Yes. And because he was wearing that shoe, and I remember it, and I remember the fist pumps, I remember everything. Although that I would say the 3 is more iconic than the 4, that moment cemented that shoe, literally, quote unquote, black cement, or cemented that shoe as that's the shoe that I needed to have, and that would always be my favorite Jordan of all the Jordans. And it's like, bury me whenever I decide to pass. You better put that shoe on me when you put me 6 feet under. So,
and just once I started getting into the Jordans, it was like, okay, what shoe should I get, and what shoe do I really want? And right now, if you were going to ask me what shoe I want, and you and I have switched and tagged each other on Instagram on the shoe, is the Jordan 2. I want the original OG Jordan 2. Every time I see it now, I'm like, I need the shoe. I granted the off-white is coming out, and that's great, and I'll try and get it, but I want the original Jordan
Yep.
2 high top. I want that shoe. I just think, that for me will, if I was never to buy another shoe again, I would
You'd
be
be okay
okay.
if that was the
Yeah,
last one that you got.
yeah, yeah.
Totally get it. You almost spoiled the segment there, but we're going to try and rally on. We do a segment called on with our sneakerheads. We do what's called Copper Pass. So
Mm,
I'm just going to float a few shoes out to you that are, call it, on the horizon of coming out.
yep.
You tell me, for you, would this be a Copper Pass? So we're going to start this week, and then we'll float through a few shoes, no particular order. Though I know you like Jordans, so we're not going to really deviate from Jordans. But let's start with Jordan 1 OG prototype. So it's that gray body. It's almost
Yeah,
like the Biohack, but with multiple different colors in it, but it's different. Would that
yeah.
be a Copper Pass for you?
So that's going to be a pass because that is the one where you actually can cut the the heel and make it into a Jordan 1 low.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm not big on the color scheme.
Yeah. It's
It's
unique.
not
It's
blowing,
unique.
yeah, it's not blowing me away, you
Right.
know.
Now, I know what you also mentioned when you kind of got going on sneakers. So I think it was probably the year before when this first came out, but I don't know why people love it. It's already come back as a retro 5 years later after the original make. So the Jordan 5 Oreo is coming out this weekend as well. Would that be a Copper Pass for you?
So I tried to get early access on it, and I'll pass on it. And the reason I pass on it is because the material is like more of a nubuck and not a leather.
Yeah.
And so I'm not big on the 5 with the nubuck. I like the silhouette, I like the shoe, but I'm
Mm,
not big on the new. It's the material for me that's
got
really
it.
turning me off on that. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Next up, next weekend we got the Red Thunder 4. Would that be a Copper Pass for you?
Thunder 4, that's going to be a pass.
Okay.
So I'm not big on the force, and I'll say that.
You're hurting my feelings, my friend. Come on now. I know
Yeah.
you're a threes guy, but
No, you know
the
what?
next
With the
best thing for many
force,
people is the 4.
so if you give me the white cement, right?
Well,
That
that might
that
be
that
in the top 5 greatest shoes of all time.
yeah. So that's the one that I get. It's like I just picked up like the I think it's called a Haas. It's like a brownish kind of thing.
Yeah.
And while I like the shoe, I'm not overwhelmed by the shoe. But my PSG Jordan 4s, jeez, with the purple and the white and the black,
Yeah.
those are beautiful. I love those shoes.
Yeah. No, I remember that one. It came out last year. Yeah, I think you're talking about the taupe haze one that came out
Yeah.
earlier this year.
Yes.
That one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I think you already said you're definitely copying the Jordan 2 off white. So curious
Yes.
to know, which one do you like better, the black or the white though? Is there one that's more of a cop than the other?
Yes, the white will be more of a cop because it pays homage to the original um, Jordan 2.
Got it.
So I like it because of that. But
Okay.
if Virgil wants to send me a pair, big it up, big it up.
You'll wear it. You'll wear
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Just a couple more. So we got the Bordeaux Jordan 1 that comes out late November. What do you think, Copper Pass?
I've been looking at it, and I do have I have a couple pair of Bordeaux's already, and so um, I'm gonna pass on this one because it's not the rich Bordeaux color that I'm used to.
Right. Okay.
So
Fair enough. To
pass.
each his own, so long as you know what you like. I think that's uber critical. So okay, so two of the most sought after shoes kind of wrap up the year. So we got the holiday special. We always get a Jordan 11, cool gray Jordan 11. Is that a copper pass for you?
That is a definite cop.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So what do we think then of probably the most sought after Jordan in many people's eyes is the bread or band patent leather Jordan 1? Would that be a copper pass for you?
So it's going to be a definite cop. I wasn't big on the patent leather, but then I got my Jordan 1 Fearless UNC to Chicago patent leather.
And I know you wear that one tough. I know you do. I've seen it on the gram. I've seen like
it's a beautiful shoe.
Yeah.
It is so beautiful. And I just picked up the Jordan 1 black and gold, the patent leather one.
The one that came out last year. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of looks like a Doc Martin with the stitching at the bottom and everything.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy the patent leather now on the Jordan 1s. And that Fearless one, I bought 2 pairs of those.
Okay.
And I was like, should I keep it? So, no one tells you about when you get into this whole thing about the money that you can make selling shoes on StockX and selling shoes anywhere.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that really like started pushing me even more to get 2 pairs of shoes. Is so if it's the latest and the greatest and everybody wants it, I would buy 2 shoes. I would watch, Unbreakable Kicks and watch what he was
that's
talking
one
about.
of maybe the most followed sneaker accounts, period. And you see everything he does on YouTube. Geez, like I know kids that they don't get a job. They just sell sneakers. Like that's their income.
Yeah. And so, with Unbreakable, like I follow him, and then he would go to the local Nike outlet in the south side of Chicago, and they would have fire there. They would have shoes that like the Carmines, they had Carmines and they had just everything there. And he would do this video and I would be there like the next day trying to get the shoes and everything like that. One of the things is like when you get involved, I was doing everything. I even looked into investing in getting a bot because I wanted to get shoes.
You wanted to win.
I wanted to win. Yeah.
Yeah. And I when I would mention some of these kids, like that is what they do. Like I know these couple kids I came across downtown, and they bought a bot. Not the most expensive bot, but bought a bot, split it 3 ways. They hit on 1 shoe, they won 8 pairs, they flipped the shoe, they covered the price of the bot. Yeah. And now everything they hit, like, you hit 3 shoes in 3 weeks, you get 5 to 8 pairs. And yeah, it's better than, going to work at McDonald's or going to work in a retail store, or, hey, you know what, I got to cut grass and do hard things. It's like, no, I got to sit on my computer and click, and here's my income. So yeah, I remember there was before the internet and technology really has taken over how sneakers are accessed and purchased, and ultimately, people get at them. Yeah, people, like you're talking about, would pay people to line up in the streets, and you get sneakers that way, and then you flip them and you make money, and you go to a sneaker convention, but now you go to GOAT or StockX and you sell them that way, and you ship them. Someone's going to buy them. You get your money. You go out and buy it again. You take your 50% and put that back in the bank, and that buys the next shoe, and you just keep going.
When I sold the Travis Scotts on StockX, I made enough money to buy 10 pairs of shoes for the year.
There you go.
And it was like, this is crazy. I bought these for 170, 175, and I sold them for like, almost $1,400-$1,500.
Yep.
And it was like, I'm going to tell you a real funny story. I bought my wife a pair of Air Jordan 1 patent UNCs. Okay. Beautiful shoe. I could turn around today and sell that same shoe that she barely even wears for like $800, $900.
Oh, I know. You're not confusing or trying to, you know, preach. You're preaching to the choir right now.
And I'm blown away because I'm like, she doesn't wear them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you don't wear them. And they're a size 7.5. Do you know what I could do with that shoe? Like I could sell that shoe and make money, dude. You know, but I can't be a bad guy. So
No, no, you
yeah.
can't be a bad guy. All right, man. So, hey, you know, we've had a really good conversation, but let's change gears. We know Sneaks Rhymes in Life. We love to talk sneakers, but we also like to talk hip hop. But I think we're going to open the open Pandora's box. And what would be your genre of music of choice? You know, clearly, again, I said it's Woo Wednesday, and definitely wearing a Wu Tang shirt for those that are watching on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. But you know what would be the genre of music? I think I know the answer, but I want to let the listeners hear what the answer is.
I have always been an R&B guy.
Okay.
I am like old school Jodeci. I'm old school Jagged Edge. I'm old school, you know, Boys to Men. Like I'm all about, you know, the R&B. You know, I love it. It's, you know, it's I thrive. Like you know, and don't get me wrong, I like hip hop, I like reggae, I like music, but
Yeah.
R&B has always been
Number one.
number one. And funny story, I'm an IT guy. I get a job at a record label, and I work at a record label, and all the guys that I work with are old school hip hop heads, like
So
been
like me.
in it. But yeah, just like you, like, you know, and I get there and I'm like, nah, this is not me. You know, it's never been that way. And every R&B album that came out came past my desk. And when a good friend of mine, Dwayne Sweets Watsons, gave me this really, really unique nickname. And because everybody in the office was a director or a vice president, and so I became the director of R&B, which he still calls me to this day. And so I love R&B, and you know, it's the genre I grew up with. It's the music, you know, you and I, you know, we work out, you know, you might be listening to some Wu-Tang. I'm listening to slow jams at the gym and trying to get my pump on, right? So R&B has always been my thing. It's just, I know it just speaks to me, you know, in a different way, without, you know, going into details, but it's just, that's my music, you know, and I find myself listening to this younger generation now and really appreciating what they're bringing to the table. So
Okay. So let me ask you then, if because we love to go and, you know, put artists versus artists, and I know we got verses and, you know, some of the others, but let me pick a couple, you know, a couple groups, and tell me which one would you prefer. So if we went Drew Hill versus Jagged Edge, which would be the group of choice?
I would go with Drew Hill, and the reason
Okay.
why I go with Drew Hill is in my eyes, a product of Jodeci. So when
Okay.
Jodeci was coming towards the end, these guys saw them. Drew Hill saw them, and they were edgy and they were different. You know, they were like Jodeci but light, and they were for, you know, that next generation. So
Yeah.
you know, while I like Jagged Edge, and, you know, always, like, they have one of the greatest remixes ever, ever put out. Let's Get Married, remixed by Jermaine Dupri. But it's, you know, I would always take Drew Hill.
Okay. All right. So what about, if I think off the top of my head, are you more of an Erica Badu fan or an Alicia Keys fan?
So I saw both of these women in concert.
Oh, okay. Look at you. Look at
And
you.
so when Alicia Keys came out, I fell hard. I loved the album. I loved all of it.
Yeah.
And when I went to the concert, I sang every song like a schoolgirl and everything. And I saw Erica Badu. You remember the concerts they used to do at Wonderland?
Yep.
Well, not Wonderland. I mean, Molson Amphitheater. The summer jams
Oh,
that they
okay.
used to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I saw her where Jill Scott went on before her and ripped it,
Yeah.
and like blew the crowd away. And then Erica had to follow up. And you remember Erica used to be at a rap head all the time.
Yeah.
Dude, she killed it to the point where she took the rap off and she was in the crowd, everything.
Wow.
And so if you're gonna ask me between the two of them, my memories is what brings me, is where I'm going with it. And what Erica Badu did in that concert was the best thing I've seen at at that kind of vibe, that kind of concert. So
Okay. Okay. All right. I feel you. I feel you on that one. So what about, and you already mentioned, so we're going to have to go there. We are going to have to talk about Boys to Men. And actually, I've read an article about, call it the demise of the group and how, obviously one left and he was sick and, anyways, Boys to Men is obviously arguably one of the best R&B groups from the 90s, but
one of the best groups ever, actually.
Period.
Yeah.
But, what would be your personal preference? Would it be Boys to Men or would it be like a group like Tony?
Boys to Men are going to make songs that you're going to sing. You're going to sing them nonstop, and
yeah.
It's clean cut, it's wholesome. They are talking about love, and they're just what they do as a group. And they've crossed over, so they're here, on the Black culture side, and then on the they crossed over, and them crossing over and everything like that. I don't want to say tainted them, but what it did, they kind of removed themselves from the Black community because now they were on that other side.
Yeah.
I like Tony. Like
okay.
It's funky, it's different, and what they brought. I'll say this: I will play more Boys to Men songs than I will play Tony songs.
Okay.
Growing up, and I remember it was Jodeci and Boys to Men, and I was like, I'm all Jodeci. I'm right there. I'm leather pants, black boots, the vest, everything like
I
that.
definitely take you as a guy in high school. You were like GQ smooth with your leather boots and
yeah,
all that type of jazz. So I don't think you can talk about R&B without talking about New Edition. So I'm gonna put up a couple people, and then not even just obviously they went in different directions. So are you a Ralph guy or are you a Johnny Gill guy?
Wow, that's a
tough
real
one. This is why I lined these two up, because I think this is a tougher conversation to kind of navigate.
So when you think about it, Bobby left and Johnny came in, and Johnny was powerful. Johnny's voice was powerful. Johnny could sing. Johnny could still sing. And Ralph was, I remember Ralph with Candy Girl and the pitch of his voice, and that is what made the song so great, because it was his voice, and at the time where he was changing from a young, a kid to a man, but his voice. And so, I have to
Don't
go
get
with
it
Johnny.
wrong now. Don't get it wrong.
No. I got to go with Johnny, because Johnny gave you more in his career than Ralph Tresvant did.
Mm-hmm.
Where Ralph Tresvant, he made, he was great in New Edition, but his solo career didn't
Didn't
do
take
it.
off. He had a few joints,
Yeah,
sensi- sensitivity,
sensitivity.
and
Yeah, but Johnny, my, he had a song on the New Jack City soundtrack,
soundtrack. Yeah,
and that was like, okay, Johnny's not, because you remember that New Jack City was like, that was the movie, like that was the
yeah.
illest movie of the time, and he was on that soundtrack, and that song, I think it was "There You Go," and him singing that song kind of separated him, and he's had a more, you know, more luxurious career,
Yep.
basically. Um, you know, if you had said like Johnny Gill, Bobby Brown, that would have been a whole nother story, because you know Bobby, it's hard because you could have a versus with New Edition. You know, you could have Bobby Brown versus Ralph, or Bobby versus Johnny, BBD versus
Well, I would say BBD versus Bobby is my next one.
yeah.
You're trying to steal my thunder here, but okay, you can keep going, but you're gonna have to answer that one.
Gotta be BBD.
Yeah.
They just did it, and they took that New Jack Swing type of vibe, and they just made it their own. And you know, um, Ricky was always my favorite. You know, he wasn't in the forefront like Ralph and Johnny, but he could sing, and I liked that he got to shine. And for me, BBD, they had slow jams. They had
Yeah.
slow jams that you were like, oh wow. So they had everything on their albums where you
Yeah.
could appreciate it. And not to go off topic, but I remember when um, soundtracks were better than the movie.
Yes, there's multiple, and sometimes you would really look for the soundtrack. I would look from, obviously, from the other perspective, is there were so many amazing songs that ended up on soundtracks that were never on albums. Like,
yes,
I know I went on a run with the example Mobb Deep, and so many of their amazing songs, whether it was on Sunset Park, or albums like, or soundtracks like that were not on albums. You had to buy the soundtrack to get the song.
yeah.
Otherwise, you were buying, unless you were going to buy the vinyl, and not everyone conveniently was able to play the vinyl. So yeah, soundtracks were in many cases better than some of the songs, and more memorable too.
Oh yeah. I remember getting, whether it was, the Best Man soundtrack, New Jack City, just
Nutty
different.
Professor.
Yeah, like the soundtracks were so dope. That movie that High School
High School High.
High School High. That soundtrack,
Bang.
fire. I could not believe how good that soundtrack was from beginning to end. And I was like, yeah, it was great. And I remember just the soundtracks were so much, like, it was so good, and they gave you something different. So
Okay, all right, yeah, that was different than what we normally do, because we normally go, it's like Nas versus Jay, and then it's like it's Biggie versus Tupac. But yeah, you can see sometimes it's good to talk about something a little bit different. So hey, so as we wrap up here, let's talk about, as I promised the listeners, is let's talk about this, call it, it's a pilgrimage to your beloved state now of Texas, and because you're a Cowboys fan, so you lived in Toronto, and then you went to
Chicago.
You went to Chicago, and then you were there, Chicago, like, I think you moved 6 years ago or something like that, and you now recently in 2021 have now moved to you moved to Texas. So like, how has the journey been? Like, what have you, call it, seen some of as the cultural nuances, even not just Canada versus US, but even Chicago versus Texas?
When I moved to Chicago, I moved to downtown Chicago, and it felt like I was 25 years old again, because I was in the heart of the city, and growing up, I've always wanted to live downtown and everything like that, and I got the opportunity. And it got to a point, I had a car down there, and I was paying $300 a month for parking, and I was driving the car only on weekends. So we got rid of the car, right? I was able to walk to work. I was able to take my daughter to school, and be at work before 8:30. And it just, we became, I don't want to say hipsters, but we became those people who live downtown, you
Yep.
know, everybody. And I was doing the reverse commute. So I was living downtown and working in the suburbs. And so, you know, moving to Chicago was one of the main reasons we moved to Chicago, was because it is very similar to Toronto. Weather-wise, city, it's another big city.
Yeah. So
Um,
it's like it's a very similar size. Like the population's around the
yes,
same. It's around
yes,
6-7 million. Like we'll gotta wait for our census to come through later this year. But yeah, it's they're although people don't really see it that way, there is probably as between the two countries as close as two cities can be.
yes. And so I just learned this a couple of years ago that Chicago and Toronto are sister cities.
Yep, they are.
And so, moving to Chicago, it was okay, we're not moving out to the country or anything, that we're moving to a similar big city. And it was an easy adjustment, easy adjustment. One of the things that was really hard was the Black Americans, white Americans, the segregation. I came from a city where it is totally multicultural, you know,
Yeah.
and moving to a city where, it's Black, white, Hispanic, and it's just completely different. And noticed it right away. It was hard. It was hard. It was a hard adjustment because, I grew up in Toronto all my life, and I had no issues with people. Not saying that there's no racism in Canada, because there is, but I didn't have the experiences that I've had in the US. And I'm talking from both sides, whether white or Black. Um, you know, to some of the, Black people, you know, I was maybe too white. I spoke well, I dressed well. I was wearing a shirt and tie every day at work. I was dressing up, and you know, I was being a professional, and doing my thing. And it was just one of the hard things to take was, you know, I would introduce myself and say, hey, I'm Dudley Thomas. And, I had a woman say to me, oh, look at this guy using his professional voice. I was like, this is me. Like, this is me
Yeah.
day to day, And so, that was one of the hardest things was, making that transition, and understanding my environment where I was. And, I say this to people to let them know Chicago is one of the most segregated cities in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always talk about, sneakers and stuff like that. I followed, Unbreakable Kicks, and he went to a Nike outlet in the South Side. And I've never go to the South Side ever. There's nothing there for me. It's a completely different world. And so one day I decide I'm going to go to this outlet, and I call an Uber. And I get in the Uber, and I'm talking to the lady, and I give her the address, and we're on our way, and we're having a conversation. And I said to her, so where am I going? Is it safe? And she says, listen, you're going to have a swivel on your head. Make sure you're paying attention. And it's only when I got there that I realized, okay, this is where I am. And I'm not normally scared or worried about my environment or where I am. I'm always aware, but that was one of the times where I was like, okay, I really have to be careful. And so for me, it was really a culture shock with America in general. The way that things are done here. And, you know, I had to go get fingerprinted for my job, and I had to go get a background screening, and I had to do, a drug test and all these things that I've never had to do.
No,
You
not here
know,
in Canada.
no, I worked for the government in Canada. I
Yep.
was, I worked for the government for 3 years. Not once did they ever say, hey, you're going to have to go get a drug test. And that experience, right, going and doing a drug test where you go in and you urinate into a toilet, they turn off the water on the taps, they do all these, they put blue dye in the toilet water and all this other stuff so that you can't cheat this test. And I'm in my mind saying, why would I cheat the test? I'm trying to get a job, but apparently that's what people are doing. And so really culture shock, just trying to understand how to get by in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And so I worked in Chicago, I worked for Walgreens, and that was my first job. I was doing executive support. I was traveling across the country. We had an office in DC, so I was always in DC on a regular, like, it was
We're
great.
gonna get to this Washington portion of your world in a second. So
Yeah. And so, I was there, and, I went to go see Georgetown there. And, I was, no lie, like I'm 5-10 minutes away I was 5-10 minutes away from the White House. I would walk over there at my lunch break just to walk over, because it was just, being Canadian, I can count on my hands how many times I've been to Ottawa. But to, go to DC and, walk by the White House. And at that time, it was so iconic because it was the transition of Donald Trump and Obama and everything like that. And it was just, just real different and stuff like that. And so, I worked from Walgreens, and then I ended up working, looking for a job just because I wanted something different, and ended up at Capital One and in Chicago. And I was doing great, had a really great job there, and an opportunity came up, and it happened so quickly. Like December, I had a conversation with my boss. January came around, I had a conversation with my boss's boss, and then it was, oh, there's an opportunity. Are you interested in relocating? And the options were DC and Plano, Texas. I said, well, we have family in Plano, so I'll go to Plano. And had an interview with my boss's boss, and then I had an interview with my current manager, and didn't hear anything from them for about 3-4 weeks. And then my wife asked me, hey, what's going on with the job? I said, I don't know, like no one said anything.
yep.
And then I got a call on the Monday and said, welcome to the team.
Wow.
And I was like, oh? Like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah. And so I started the job in February. And then,
wow.
The relocation package came, and I moved here June 4th, and I've been here ever since. And it's been great. I remember when I put it on LinkedIn that I'm moving to Texas, even though everybody congratulated me about the job, every single person said, you are now closer to your Cowboys. And it was just, I had to tell people, hey, yeah, it's that's a bonus. It's great, and it's been great. I've gone to training camp. I've gone to preseason games. I am actually 15-20 minutes away from the Cowboys practice facility. Mm-hmm. And when I got here, my wife and daughter came, but then they went back to Chicago, and I was by myself. And I would go out to the Star, and I would just sit and take it in. And I couldn't believe that I was here. Like
Yep.
Yes, I'm here for my job, but football season is a short season. And there is so much passion going on in the 16, 17 weeks. You and I don't know how many conversations we have.
We know that football is like literally all year round. Like there's way more talking about football when it's not being played than it's when it's actually in season. And I know I've been taking jabs I've been taking
Yes.
jabs
Oh, yes, 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 yeah.
since
And it's
spring, probably.
yeah. And for those who don't know, I did lose a bet to my man
Oh,
here,
was it
and
a
I
glorious bet?
had to wear the jersey, and
So hold
which
on.
I
But don't skim on the story now. Don't skim on the story.
okay.
So for the listeners that you haven't heard before, so I like Washington, and we don't call ourselves by that nickname anymore. We're a Washington football team right now until we pick a name, and we may never pick a name. But Dudley is a Cowboys fan, so we're arch rivals in the division. So we got talking last year, and it just so happened Washington was in Dallas for the traditional Thanksgiving game that Dallas and the Detroit Lions host every year. 1 o'clock game is Detroit, 4 o'clock game is Dallas. So we came up with a bet. The loser of the game would have to wear the other team's jersey and put it on social media. So for those that remember what happened in the game, it was pretty well a one-sided contest in this game. Shocking to many that it was as one-sided as it was. And
Considering that Dak had not lost to the Washington football team ever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for just for the record, this is on Thanksgiving. Dallas is like grand show, like everyone's sitting at home eating their Thanksgiving turkey, and Washington rolls into Dallas and steamrolls them 41-16. We had rookie Antonio Gibson score 3 touchdowns in that game. Man.
Horrible. The whole thing was just horrible.
If you want to check out my, I think I pinned it on Twitter. So hey, if you want to go check out my Twitter account, you definitely can see the video of Dudley paying homage to my team.
The worst thing about that is that you recently reposted it.
Oh,
and
I reconnected with some new Washington fans, and it's like,
and they let me have it. They messaged me, you look better in burgundy, and just the comments, and it was just like, God, can this guy let this thing die? And it just carried another life, and then the funny thing about the whole story is a package came to my door, and it was addressed to me, and I opened it, and it was wasn't it what's his name, number 17?
yes, it was
Yes, yeah.
the name would be Terry McLaurin. Although we all call him Scary Terry. Had a fabulous game game
Yeah,
two. He had like 13 catches for $120 or $102 touchdown, and somehow we beat the Giants because we never beat the Giants, but we're 1-1
so
just like you are.
we ended up wearing the jersey and stuff like that, and my Cowboy friends were losing it. They said you should have welched on the bet and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. Like, for us, we go back and forth, but it's a good back and forth. It's never, it's never anything else but our sheer dislike for each other's teams.
Yeah.
But I will say, out of our division, the team that I can't stand the most is
the Eagles.
The Sheagles. The Sheagles, yeah. I don't really care for New York. Like, to me,
No,
it's like, they're the ugly stepchild. And so, every year it's between, us three, Washington, Sheagles, and Dallas. And so, one year we met up for what was it, Christmas?
Was it the week 17 game?
Yeah, week 17.
Yep. And you had the Eagles. It was Eagles Dallas for the division.
Yep. And still had the picture. We're all lined up, and not that we did it on purpose, but we lined up in
division order.
In division order, yep.
So I probably was on the end that year because we stunk that year, as I recall.
Yeah,
maybe we were third.
Yeah.
Maybe okay. No, I didn't think we were third. I think we're normally first or last. That's the way we roll. So
yeah. And I really, I really enjoy our, our banter. We go at it, and it's funny because we all talk about each other's team. We post about each other's teams, any news, anything like that. We are not posting for, it's like we're not posting about our teams ourselves.
Tell us
Somebody
about
else
the
is
other
already,
guys.
yeah, somebody is already posting about your team and everything like that. So it's really, really good banter, and I really, enjoy it, um, being part of that and just having it. And being here, it's just that's the thing that's really, I'm trying to get used to, is seeing people in cowboy gear. Usually back in Toronto, I was the only one, or when I moved to Chicago, and I lived 10, 15 minutes away from Soldier Field,
It's
and I'm a
Bears
Cowboys
Nation
fan.
now. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's Bears are nothing.
yeah. And so one of the best things that I did when I was in Chicago is I found a Cowboys bar, and I was there religiously every Sunday watching the game. And I found out moving there, there's a bunch of sports bars in there, and each sports bar was like Raiders and Green Bay and Minnesota. And so when I moved there initially and I went to this bar, the bar across the street was a Pittsburgh Steeler bar,
Oh,
which is like, who cares? You're AFC, whatever. And years later, they turned it into an Eagles bar. And the first,
why?
yeah, they knew, they knew, right? They knew they were going to get the crowd to come to that bar. And so here we are. I think it was the first game of the season in 2019, and it was the Cowboys versus the Eagles. And I remember just the anxiety of, the game. And when we scored, we would yell. And it almost felt like a West Side Story, that we were going to come into the middle of the street and we were
And
going to
meat.
fight.
Yeah.
Okay. And, we lucky Dallas won that game. Um, I can't remember if it was the tip to Amari or if it was the two backs falling down in the end zone and Jason Witten catching the game winner.
Mm.
But when we won, we went out on the street like we won the Super Bowl and everything like that. And they were just going home, and we were just waiting for them. We were waiting for them to just to come out and, and deal with us, because, here we are, Cowboys on one side, Eagles on the other side. Let's get this party started.
Oh,
I said, I might be going to jail tonight.
oh
That's how
man. Wow.
that's how hype it was, right?
Oh man. So yeah, real interesting to see what happens with the division this year. Giants don't look good at all.
No,
But I'm gonna tell you, you know what? It's our division, and whoever the weak brother in the division is gonna upset someone late in the year. And it's the way that they made the schedule this year. It's like, I know we play 5 division games in a row to close out the season. So they've loaded it that there's going to be a lot of excitement, and the games are going to mean something regardless of what your record. Like, geez, like last year we were at one point 1-6 and 2-7 and ended
yeah.
up 7-9 and winning the division. So I think someone will be at least 500 this year, but it definitely looks like it's going to be a 3-horse race down the stretch to figure out who wins. So
So
you know,
just want to give you a heads up. I am actually going to the game on Monday night.
oh boy, wow,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's a juicy one.
Yeah, I bit the bullet because my wife and daughter's got to work, and I spent a little extra on the ticket. I'm sitting in the end zone, and so um, I'm actually really looking forward to it, because every time that we've played the Eagles, they show up.
Mm-hmm.
They show up and everything like that. And so as the memes that go around, I'm going to be wearing my jersey, a pair of jean shorts, and a pair of Jordans, which I haven't decided which ones I'm going to rock yet.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the Jordan to wear is the Jordan Flint 13, the one that's
Mhm.
white, blue,
Yes.
and gray.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
the official Cowboy Jordan 13. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Cowboy
Uh,
starter pack, as I think they call it.
yeah. 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 And it's funny because I passed on the 13 Flints because I was like, you know, not a big
Yeah.
deal, not big on them. But I do have I think they're the 12s. Yeah, the 12s I have. And
Yeah.
so, but I try not to wear white shoes because it's just, I'm so now like I'm totally like I take the shoe out, I bought the whole Jason Mark pack and everything like that, and I clean, I brush, I scrub, um, I do the whole thing. And so, you know, I like clean shoes. Like I don't like the scuff marks or anything like that. So as soon as I'm done for the day, they get the full treatment and they go back into the box and then they go back up, into, up to the ceiling with the shoes and everything. So
All right. So, hey, I really appreciate you being on the podcast today. I think a lot of great conversation about just your sneaker collection, obviously music,
mhm.
a little football to wrap things up. So, I know you do a couple different accounts. How do people find you on social media?
uh, I got two accounts. One is dedicated to strictly my love for the Cowboys. I'm going to be starting a blog this year that my first year in Texas and how my football experience has gone. And so that IG account is a Cowboy fan from Toronto. And for my sneaker one, it's Sneakerhead 416-312. Might have to change that one, to add the 214 on it, but Sneakerhead 416-312. And just to speak on battle, this time it's with the custom sneakers. My wife a pair of Air Jordan 1 Bloodlines and sent it off to the designer, and he designed it in the Raptors colors.
So
And
I saw it.
so,
I saw it on Just for Kicks the other day. It's pretty dope.
yeah. So it's and that's the thing about the sneaker culture. It just opened up a whole different world to me.
Yeah.
With everything, and you introduced me to that Just for Kicks and stuff like that, and I already won battle with the Jordan 85s, and so I like to win another one with the Raptors. So I'm hoping that all of Toronto comes back and backs me on these ones.
Yeah. All right. Hey, so once again, appreciate you being on the podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
We definitely will be releasing this probably early next week. So take care of yourself. We'll definitely catch up to you soon. And thank you, listeners, for listening for this special edition of Sneaks, Rhymes, and Life. So to everyone out there, enjoy Thursday night football. Could be a very ugly game. So take it for what it's worth. But the NFL is back, and I think for those football fans, we're all happy for it. So
extremely, extremely happy.
All right, everyone, take care. Peace.
Take care, Peace out.